On this episode of ResiWeek, ProSource adds AiSPiRE, DMF says it's time to embrace LEDs, and premiering movies at home. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 269, Revolutionary versus Evolutionary.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Peerless AV, driving technology through innovation.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And this week, we are pleased to be joined by three of my good friends. First, we have Mr. Stephen Bronner. He's the owner of Pro Audio Georgia, currently basking in the Georgian sun. How are you, buddy?
Good afternoon, my friend. I'm doing out freaking standing. What a beautiful day in Georgia.
I see that. Next, moving up the coast before we come back down, we have Mr. Jason Knott. He is the Chief Content Officer at CE Pro. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you, sir. And back down to Georgia for Mr. Ken. We can't have both Georgia guys to, like, even though you're technically a Detroiter, we can't have two Georgia guys.
Well, that's why I'm indoors. So Stephen can be outdoors in the sun. I get my window behind me. So I'll go out after we're done here.
That right there is Mr. Ken Eagle. He is the Senior Global Director of Training for Athlona. How are you, sir?
Happy. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off with a story that comes to us from Residential Systems. ProSource is going to feature AiSPiRE in their Lighting Technology and Learning Center. If you don't know what that is their new showroom where they're going to have multiple rooms showing a bunch of different lighting technologies to help both inspire and teach their members about lighting. So we're going to kind of have a bit of a lighting show today, which makes me very happy. But as I said, their new showroom is going to feature AiSPiRE, which is a new lighting brand designed with custom integration in mind that's supposed to elevate the human experience of light while connecting on a deeper level with integrators and clients in their space. Check this out. If you haven't heard of AiSPiRE, you may have heard of their parent company, which is WAC Lighting out of New York. They're a fairly large lighting company in that architectural space. Stephen, let me start with you on this. ProSource is not the first to, as far as buying groups, to jump on the lighting design kind of bandwagon, if we will. It seems to be one of the current trends along with wellness. What do you think about the fact that they are essentially building an actual center opposed to most of the other buying groups have gone the route of education and some lighting certifications and things like that? ProSource seems to be taking that a step further with a lighting design center. Are you seeing that as a big part and a big benefit to ProSource members?
I think it's awesome for the members to actually see their money go into something that really benefits them. I think that is, I wish other buying groups would do the same thing. I think it's an incredibly good move. We need to be able to educate people in our industry about what's going on and what technology is available, and what better way to do it than to have the buying group you're a part of be an active part of that education. Just like you, I'm huge on lighting, and listen to those birds. That's beautiful. That's just nice. But anyway, just wanted to. The point I wanted to make when we talked about this is kudos, man. Kudos to ProSource for doing this, stepping out there and making it happen. That's just awesome in my opinion.
Very good. Jason, when you see this, you've followed ProSource for years. You followed this move to lighting for years. You and I have talked about this for years, not to continue to use that. What does it mean to you that they're working with a company like AiSPiRE, but more importantly that AiSPiRE is kind of a sub brand of a brand like WAC? That to me, that's, I don't want to say that's the bigger story, but that's almost the bigger story to me.
It is the bigger story. So this is really a microcosm of what's happening in the lighting control or the lighting fixture category. So integrators who haven't dove into it, many of them have told me the reason they haven't dove into it is because they're fearful of upsetting the relationship with their electrician partners. And so it's very clear why WAC or WAC lighting has, if you notice, they never mention WAC in this piece whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's very purposeful because they want to separate AiSPiRE as a brand targeted just for the integration channel, whereas WAC is for the electrician channel. And so what they're trying to, it's almost like people who don't know Lexus versus Toyota, let's just say, they're really trying to delineate from a brand standpoint. And I'm curious as to what the other guys think as to whether that's the successful move, because you see a lot of people, like Steven even mentioned before we got on, oh, this makes me feel even better knowing that AiSPiRE is part of a bigger company, WAC, but maybe they don't want people to know that. They want it to be a very separate, distinctive brand just for the channel, so that it doesn't upset their electrical partners too. So they're not just thinking about the integrator, but they're thinking about their channel, their sales channel too. So I think it's the bigger kind of microcosmic picture of what's happening in this fixture category. This push-pull between the low voltage integrator and the electrician is not just happening at the dealer level, but also at the manufacturer level.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Ken, that was honestly part of my question to you. Was one of the things I see with integrators getting into lighting, not just the control side, but the fixture, the lighting design, is one, it's a challenge to teach integrators how to design with light, opposed to just follow the electrician's lead and just throw them in. But how important is it that we as a channel have kind of some dedicated high power companies that we can go to that have products that we can sell, opposed to just, I don't want to say piggybacking, but potentially having that fight with other specifiers over those fixtures?
So, lighting to me is a lot like audio in a way, in that it's very demonstrable. You sort of have to experience it, right? It's difficult for me to really convey or to teach something like lighting on a video conference or in a brochure or on a website. And I love the idea of ProSource having this technology and learning center, because now dealers can get in and see it, experience it, understand it, learn it, right? And I think it's very important to have that and to have that connection, especially for the custom integration channel, as opposed to just being a big electrical outfit or going into an electrical store, seeing it in a custom solution where it's built in and you can see how it was designed, the thought that went into that design. You can experience it the way a customer will experience it in their home. That helps you learn how to design and put that in. So I think it's very important. And I love what they're doing here, like Steven said. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, very good. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to our next story of the day. This comes to us from CE Pro. I told you this was going to be a lighting show. DMF Lighting, it's a Q&A between Jason Knott and DMF Lighting's Mike Liebman. Am I saying that right, Jason?
It's Liebman.
Liebman? Sorry about that, Mike. Explaining how modular LED lighting has changed the game and how the level of lighting design training is not only needed, but they're offering some. Read through the story. It's a really good Q&A with a CI specific lighting manufacturer. Jason, let me start with you on this. We just talked about the benefits of a large company having a sub arm that's doing something specific for the CI channel. Again, I think that's great. I also think that this is great. What is the big difference between kind of the two approaches of having the smaller manufacturer like DMF, who's making things specific for our channel?
Yeah, this again, you're hitting it right, Matt. You're so intuitive today. It's like great.
Just today? Come on, man.
Just today. I'm just going to point out today. Yeah. So the key thing here is this again shows you what's happening in this category, that when there is a sea change in technology, it opens the door and creates opportunities for smaller companies to actually make an entree into a market. So, you've seen this happen, and, we could countlessly name so many other categories where a new technology comes in, all of a sudden it's an opportunity. Nobody has a giant market share. Nobody's dominating in the fixture category.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a Wild West show, and it allows a company like DMF, who's a smaller company, to come in with something targeted for the channel, just like WAC is coming in with its AiSPiRE line, just like Environmental Lights, just like Color Beam. I mean, there's so many companies entering the category now. But again, I think you hit the nail on the head here. The bigger picture is that this category is so new and it's so revolutionary that nobody's got a market share, and it's an opportunity for any company to come in and plant their foot in the ground.
Yeah, that's very important. Ken, back to you on this. The thing I really like about this interview is not only did they, have a nice little Q&A about the product and about the company, but at the bottom of the article, Jason asks about the level of lighting design knowledge. This is and has been kind of my axe to grind with this part of the industry these days. Is there's a lot of companies playing in the lighting space, and there's a lot of integrators who are trying to get into lighting, and respectfully, very few of them understand light from a design aesthetic. How do we go about properly understanding not just the technicalities of lighting design, but the aesthetics and how you can beautify a space with light? Learn enough so that you can get in and actually express that to a client properly.
Yeah, that's again, a good intuitive question there, Matt. I mean, we do focus in the industry a lot on, how do you do things? How do you wire properly? What are the proper standards? How do we configure and program? And consideration isn't always properly given to, in the case of lighting, I think, the design element. How do we make this fit? How do we really make an integrator successful when they pitch this to the customer? And this is a challenge that's not unique to DMF, for example. It's unique to all manufacturers. I work for a manufacturer. If I've got a product that needs special design consideration, and I don't teach the integrator how to do that, then they sell my product into a market where a couple things could happen. It's not tremendously successful because it's not really installed to its full potential. The customer has a bad experience with it. Or I don't get spec'd again somewhere else. So there's three different ways I can lose by not educating that market and teaching them. So I think it's on the manufacturer a little bit to create programs to help train these integrators on the design element behind their product. And I think it's to the best interest of organizations like CEDIA to come out and partner with some of these manufacturers and promote that and to offer some kind of a class in it. And I don't necessarily mean it has to be done at like a trade show, but CEDIA has a great new space in Indiana, and maybe they have lighting in. I haven't been up there recently, but now with groups like ProSource or whoever might be out there, even regional based examples where you can maybe team up and host some kind of design centered training in one of these design centers, I think is a great way to approach the market, start to get that education knowledge out there.
Yeah,
let me interject real quick. One thing I think is interesting is I remember seeing a quote from Lutron years ago that they said, what percentage of homes in America do you believe have had professional lighting design? And their answer is 2%. Only 2% of homes have actually had professional lighting design. So anything that an integrator brings, any level or skill set that he can get in that space, he's separating himself from and opening up an opportunity to separate from a category that is really yet not being delved into at all. So I don't want to diminish the importance of lighting design, but just know that most homes don't have it done,
right?
And have not had it done.
I was walking through a home actually yesterday, which is a rarity for me to do a site visit on a Sunday, but we had a client in from out of town, and we're walking through the space and we were talking lighting. And I asked who was, do they have a design? Do they have something going on? How can we help? Oh, the electrician's got it down. And then we proceeded to have the conversation about how poor most electrical designs are when it comes to lighting. Stephen, you and I were talking ahead of the show a little bit about this, and I love what DMF is doing, and they've got some fantastic products. They've won some awards for some of their products. The concern I always have with CI lighting products is because that market is so small, there's concern. We've seen it with quite a few lighting companies over the past couple of years. They show up to a couple CEDIAs and then they're no longer around. What is the big driver to push some of these companies into longevity?
Being revolutionary, not just evolutionary. That's the difference. You have to make a difference. So I like these DMF products. I think it's an interesting product, modular lighting, so you can adjust it afterwards. I think that's a very cool idea. Don't get me wrong. Kudos to them. I think it's a really awesome idea. I just don't think I just don't see the penetration, the space penetration. By the time a homeowner gets done building their house, the last thing they want to do is go around changing out light fixtures. I'm just going to be honest with you. When was the last time you saw a homeowner at the end of a home construction in the mood to change anything? They're just ready to be done. So a modular lighting system like that is kind of a cool idea, but I just don't know how much lasting power it has. If you want to talk about lighting technologies that I feel like are revolutionary instead of just evolutionary, it's not just little changes over time. Look at PoE lighting. PoE lighting. Poet is a company I've been talking to. It's PoEWIT. Let me tell you something. If I told a homeowner, and I'm working on this now, that I can take everything electrical in their house from the waist up and make it low voltage, that is revolutionary. It's full dimming, all PoE. You can actually keep the lights on with a battery backup to a PoE switch instead of, having to run to a generator. It takes loads off your generator. It is an amazing, sorry if my mic doesn't sound good, everybody. It is an amazing technology where that is a revolutionary change. Poet is doing some amazing stuff with that, whereas DMF, it's evolutionary. It's a light fixture. We've had light fixtures. So what did they do? They said, okay, well, what if I wanted to change that light fixture once I got done with the project? That's a cool idea. I take nothing from them. I think it's actually really awesome. But I don't know if a Lego system light fixture is really what's going to revolutionize the market. We'll see. We'll see, and I wish them the absolute greatest of luck, like any other entrepreneur. They've been around for a while, and I think they'll probably find a way to make it work. But I think what we need now is out-of-the-box thinking. And, Poet, what they're doing, and they're not the only ones, but it's a company I've been talking to. What they're doing with PoE lighting, man, that is a huge change, especially for commercial projects. Electrical cost on commercial projects is ridiculous. So now I tell an electrical, the architect that's bidding a commercial project, hey, everything from the waist up, I got it. Everything from the waist up. We run on category cable. Everything will be fine. You can dim individual sections. You can tie it in with alarm systems, so the lights do different things. They turn on with the alarm systems. It's all native. You don't have to have extra integration modules. That's the kind of thing that's revolutionary. Like I said, I wish them the greatest of luck, but I think what we need to focus on as an industry is how do we make revolutionary changes, not just evolutionary changes.
Speaking of some big revolutionary changes, our next story comes to us again from CE Pro. Hollywood studios have released their post-COVID plans. that should spur up your home theater business. If you've missed it, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal, to begin with, have plans to continue with shortened windows for in-home viewing, or literally no window at all. If you don't know what I mean by that, Jason in the article does a great job of explaining it, but essentially the window is the period from which that film is released in a theater to when you can access it not in a theater, online or at home or streaming, or back in the day in Blockbuster. Jason, this has been a huge thing going forward, and we've seen some stuff specifically with Disney, where they have really kind of, I don't want to say they didn't lead the way initially, but as soon as Disney Plus came out, they kind of took it over real quick. And they're doing a bunch of things, including new films that are streaming day and day, or streaming directly and not even in a commercial theater, as well as having premiere access fees. All of these seem to be, what you're expecting to see from these studios to kind of, I don't want to say appease the theater market, but soften that blow a little bit. Is this what we expect to see for just the future in general, or do you think this is a timed gut check?
Well, again, I think this is a real big picture conversation, and I'll be curious to what Ken and Steven think about this too. And because I've gotten people who gave me feedback from that already. Some people saying, "Oh, I can't wait to get back in a commercial theater." Just like I can't wait to go on a cruise, I can't wait to dine at a restaurant, or I can't wait to go to a trade show. And other people who told me, I'm never going to a commercial theater again. Those days are done. And I'd be curious as to what the group thinks is, do you think in general, we're seeing the long-term death knell of the commercial theater business in favor of the in-home cinema, which is good news for integrators? Or is this just a temporary COVID, fear-mongering situation, and that this is going to come back, and 2 years from now, people are just going to be dying to get back into movie theaters?
So Ken, I'll have you answer Jason's question, as Stephen, I will have you ask that or answer that as well. But I'll also ask you, Ken, once you answer his question, how do you go about marketing this? Because this is a huge, obviously you shouldn't leverage Disney's name, because you'll get papers from lawyers for that one. But this is a huge opportunity.
Yeah, so this is really cool. And, to answer Jason's question, partly, I'm a little emotionally split on this one, because I love home theater. I love what's been done this past year. Wonder Woman came out over Christmas. We watched that here as a family. And then we had some close friends who were over. We watched Wonder Woman 4 different times, all right? Because we could. Because we could download it and watch it there, and it was you couldn't go to the theater and see it, so it was just really cool to be able to do that. So I like that, and yes, I do think this does signal the death of some portion of the big commercial cinema industry. I think the big going out to the theater just to sit through a theater and see a movie. I think we're starting to see that go away now. Now, what I think will stick around are the boutique theaters, where you can go in and you can have a meal, and there's a bar there, and there's a theater. That's still a different experience. That's a good social experience that I think adds a lot of unique value that I think people want to go out and do, especially post-pandemic, as you want to mingle with people and be able to go to the theater. So I think there's something there for sure. And another reason why I'm partially split is a good friend of mine last week rented out a local movie theater here for his wife's 50th birthday party, and invited 40 of the closest friends. They came in, the theater provided drinks and popcorn. They brought their own cake and some snacks for out in the lobby. You had to wear masks in the lobby, but you could take your mask off when you go into the theater. And he brought a Blu-ray of his wife's favorite movie back from the early 80s, and we watched it, and it was cool. Nostalgic. I enjoyed being in a theater. It brought back that excitement, wow, I want to keep going back to the theater. But I think it's kind of still too little too late. I don't think you're going to drive enough excitement back into the theaters to really save that whole industry, because I'd still stay at home and watch it when it comes out if I could, because my experience here is incredible. And then you asked, how do you go about marketing this as an integrator? How do you market this? Well, I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, certainly you don't want to cause panic by saying, don't go out because there's still COVID out there or something. So, but I think you got to sell your services. You know, you put a lot of investment into your in-home solution. And there are now, have the ability to watch these movies within a short window of when they're actually released. So I think that can be part of the talking point when you're selling or upgrading your customers to that. And again, don't use the Disney name, but I mean, certainly the services that you're offering, there's a benefit. There's a more immediate benefit to them now than maybe there was in the past.
Yeah, very good. Stephen, again, if you can answer Jason's question. And then, the one pushback I always have on this through the years is this is great for people that have the space or the means in which to have a real dedicated space. But for the majority of people, they don't have that. They're really happy if they have a big screen TV and, a quality sound bar. Will that kind of divide push how effective theaters are going forward?
So first, to answer Jason's question, Jason, the answer to your question is it is completely regional. It's all scare tactics, no matter which side you're on. If you go around here in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, basically anywhere in the Southeast, Texas, these places that were open early, had fewer or, the same amount of cases as places that were completely locked down. You're going to find people say, I'm not worried about this. I'm ready to get back in the theater. Me, I have a beautiful setup at home, and I love going to the theater. As a matter of fact, we almost went this weekend to see Nobody in the theater. It's a cool looking movie. It's like suburban John Wick. So we were going to go see it and see but other things happened. So I think it's completely regional. I bet if you ask this question across the board, you would find that your answers become extremely regional. Because I talk to people all over the country, and I can tell you that my answers I'm getting are very regional. So I think it's all about how you feel and how the people around you feel. I just don't. You look at the numbers and you can make up your own mind what they say. Lockdown, no lockdown, whatever. As far as people being scared for 2 years, 3 years, that's not going to happen. We're Americans. We're a consumer-based society. We buy stuff. We buy experiences. We buy, ignore the Canadian. He doesn't matter. But we buy experiences. We buy stuff. We're notorious for buying stuff. People got $1,400 checks. Did you see memes on Facebook or social media about, I took a trip to Jamaica? No. Somebody bought a camel. I mean, come on, man. We're Americans. We just buy stuff. So, yeah, people are going to spend their money. They're going to go out. They're going to have fun, especially down around here, man. I mean, this place never really slowed down. I had one of my best years ever this past year. People are wide open. So as far as how to sell this, you don't sell this. You sell you. That's what you sell. You don't sell this technology or that technology. You sell you. You tell your clients, I'm here to provide you with this experience. And then you follow through. If your client is a big movie person, it's your job to know they need HBO Max or Apple TV Plus or, whatever, so that they can enjoy those same day release, or Disney Plus, those same day of release movies. If they're a sports person, it's your job to know what streaming services have live sports and which ones don't. Who carries soccer? Who carries football? Who has the NFL, the season pass or whatever? It's your job to sell you, and then your client trusts you, and you interview your client, find out what they need, and that's what you're selling. So that's my answer to the sell question.
All right, very good. Jason, if you're curious, I think that the standard theaters will return. There will be a big push, as Ken noted, on those boutique theaters. But there is something about a shared experience. It's the same reason concerts will come back and are coming back, depending where you are. there's something about, as much as I want to go hear Chris Bodie play a trumpet to just me and like my family, that's not the same as going to see him with 5,000 other people who are all sitting there and enjoying that, and enter whatever artist you want to talk about there. Obviously there's differences between those intimate situations and those large experiences, but I know that as soon as they finally release the new Bond, I will go see that in a theater, because I want to experience that with not only my family, but with other people that love it and enjoy it. Just like the last John Wick movie I went to go see. There's something about when he does something violent and everybody in the theater goes, "Oh, that's phenomenal." And that's why we go to see those in theaters with large groups of people. But it will be regional. It will, take time and all those fun things. Yes, Stephen.
I want to say this. I love boutique theaters. I think they're freaking cool. But if the major theaters don't make it, the boutique theaters won't make it because they won't be able to afford the movie rights. Most of your boutique theaters are owned by your major lines. So just keep in mind that if your major theaters don't make it, the movie rights will be too expensive for them to turn around and do the boutique theaters. So let's keep everybody in business.
Yeah, 100%. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap up there. Thank you all for joining us today. Mr. Bronner, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Pro Audio Georgia, where do they do that?
They can walk up to my chair right now. I happen to be sitting in my truck for a second, but no, they can look me up Pro Audio _GA on Twitter. They can look up on the website, proaudiogeorgia.com or proaudiocarolinas.com. And just reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Knott, thank you for joining us as always. It has been a pleasure. If people want to connect with you, learn more about CE Pro, where do they do that?
They can obviously go to cepro.com and subscribe to the magazine for free and the newsletter for free. And they can follow me on Twitter at Jason W. Knott.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Eagle, thank you, sir. Always appreciate your time. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Athlona, where do they do that?
Ooh, that's an easy one, at Lona.com. Check us out online. Lots of great tools on that. We added a new vlog this year. Definitely check that out. A lot of good articles coming out of Atlona on that page as well.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.